The victory celebration filled the main hall of the orbital station with lights and strange music. Commander Day stood on the platform, his dark uniform crisp and clean, watching as soldiers from a dozen different species gathered below. 3 months of fighting had finally ended. The Ravager swarm was gone, pushed back into deep space where they belonged. General Morricon approached the podium. The tall reptilian commander's scales gleamed under the station lights. His voice echoed through the translator devices everyone wore. Today we honor all soldiers who fought bravely. Special recognition goes to Earth's 7th Expeditionary Force. Their tactics and endurance turned the tide of battle. The alien soldiers clicked, chirped, and hummed their approval. Captain Na stood beside Day, her arms crossed and a slight smile on her face. She leaned closer to whisper, "They still don't understand how we did it." Day nodded slightly. During the campaign, he had watched the alien soldiers struggle after 2 weeks of combat. They needed long rest periods, special medical treatments, and careful monitoring. Meanwhile, the human soldiers kept going. They complained, sure. They were tired and sore. But they recovered faster and stayed ready for action. After the ceremony ended, Ambassador Velthris moved through the crowd on 6 legs. The Quillari diplomat looked like a large insect, with compound eyes that sparkled with curiosity.
She approached Day and Na with careful steps.
"Commander Day, Captain Na, may we speak?" "Of course, Ambassador." Day gestured to a quieter corner of the hall. Velthris folded her front legs in what her species considered a respectful pose. "I must ask, how do humans maintain such remarkable endurance? Our medical teams have studied your soldiers. Your recovery rates are extraordinary for mammals." Before Day could answer, General Morricon joined them. 2 other alien officers followed. They all looked curious, maybe even a bit suspicious. Day understood. Humans were newcomers to the Galactic Coalition. Earth had only made contact 5 years ago. The other species had been working together for centuries. "The General asks a good question," Morricon said, his head tilting to one side. "My own soldiers required twice the rest periods that yours did. We are reptilian, built for endurance. Yet your species, supposedly weaker, outperformed us." Captain Na glanced at Day. He could see she was trying not to laugh. They had discussed this before during the long nights of the campaign. The answer was simple, but the aliens probably wouldn't believe it. "Proper nutrition," Day said simply. Velthris's antennae twitched. "Nutrition? All coalition forces receive optimized nutrient supplements. The same formula is calculated for each species' needs." "Yes," Na said, stepping forward. "Those supplements are fine for basic function. But humans need more than basic function. We need food." The word didn't translate well. The alien officers looked confused. General Morricon's translator made a strange buzzing sound as it tried to find the right meaning. "Food?" Velthris repeated. "You mean sustenance? Nutritional intake?" "Not exactly," Day said. He was starting to enjoy this. "Lieutenant High, could you join us, please?" A young woman in a clean uniform approached. Lieutenant High had been assigned to the human contingent as a cultural attaché. Her job was to help aliens understand human customs. She smiled politely at the gathering of confused officers. "Lieutenant," Day said, "could you explain to our friends what we mean by food?" High's smile widened. "Food is how humans bond, celebrate, mourn, and heal. It's not just nutrients. It's culture, comfort, and connection all mixed together." The aliens looked at each other. Several made sounds that their translators didn't even try to convert. An idea formed in Day's mind. "Ambassador General, I have a proposal. Let us show you. Tomorrow evening, the human contingent will host a feast, a proper celebration of our victory, Earth-style. You and your officers are invited as guests of honor." "A feast?" Morricon's eyes narrowed. "Is this similar to our victory meal protocols?" "Not at all," Na said cheerfully. "It's much better." Velthris's antennae waved in what might have been uncertainty. "This is acceptable. We would be honored to experience human customs. Should we prepare in any way?" "Just bring an appetite," Day said. After the aliens left, Na punched Day's shoulder lightly. "You're terrible. They have no idea what they just agreed to." "Exactly." Day grinned. "Get Sergeant Kang. Tell him to requisition everything we need from the Earth supply ships. The full menu. The full menu." Na's eyebrows rose. "That's going to cause some concern in medical." "Let them be concerned. It's time the galaxy learned what humans are really about." Later that night, Lieutenant Hai found Sergeant Kang in the supply bay. The stocky man was already pulling up inventory lists on his datapad. When he saw her approach, he smiled. "I heard," Kang said before she could speak. "The commander wants to blow their minds, right?" "That's the idea. Can we do it?" Kang scrolled through his lists. "We've got kimchi, gochujang, doenjang, dried peppers, pork belly, beef short ribs, garlic ginger, sesame oil, rice, vegetables, and soju. We even have some gochugaru that Private Jin brought from home. How spicy. Very spicy. The kind that makes you cry happy tears," Hai laughed. "Perfect. The medical staff are going to have a breakdown." "Let them," Kang said.
Hey, you think the aliens have ever tasted fermented food?
"Probably not. Most species we've met are really careful about bacteria." "Then tomorrow is going to be very interesting." Word spread quickly through the human section of the station. Soldiers who hadn't seen action in weeks volunteered to help. Private Jin, who had worked in his family's restaurant before enlisting, took charge of the cooking plans. Corporal Tay, who claimed his grandmother was the best cook in Seoul, argued about the proper way to grill meat. Ensign Bo started planning desserts. In the alien sections, different conversations were happening. The Quillari soldiers gathered in their quarters discussing the strange invitation. "Humans eat for pleasure?" one young soldier asked. "Not just for sustenance?" "Apparently," another replied. "I accessed the Earth database. Their food culture is extremely complex. Thousands of different combinations. That seems inefficient." "Inefficient but effective. Remember how they fought? Maybe there's a connection." In the Therine barracks, General Morikon spoke with his medical officer. "Run a scan on the human food stores. I want to know what we're dealing with." The medical officer returned an hour later looking disturbed. "General, some of their food items register as mildly toxic. High concentrations of capsaicin, active bacterial cultures, and aggressive enzymes. They also have substances that induce mild intoxication." "They consume toxins?" "Apparently, sir. And they seem to enjoy it." Morikon sat back in his chair. He had read the reports about Earth. The planet was classified as a Class 12 death world. The gravity was high, the weather was extreme, and the biodiversity was dangerous. Evolution there had been violent and competitive. Any species that survived had to be incredibly tough. Maybe that was the secret. Humans didn't just survive their world, they thrived on it. They took things that should kill them and made them part of daily life. "Interesting," Morikon said quietly. "Very interesting. Tomorrow should be educational." The next day, preparations began in earnest. The human soldiers transformed the main mess hall. They pushed tables together, brought in extra seating, and set up cooking stations. The smell of garlic and ginger started filling the corridors. Alien soldiers passing by stopped to investigate. The scents were strong, unfamiliar, and slightly alarming. More than one Quillari soldier reported to medical, convinced there was a chemical leak. Sergeant Kang worked with his team, organizing ingredients and checking supplies. Everything was ready. Everything was perfect. Tomorrow night, the galaxy was going to learn that humans didn't just eat to survive. They ate to live. The morning of the feast brought chaos to the station's medical bay. Sergeant Kang had started unpacking the special supplies, and a curious Quillari technician had witnessed the process. Within an hour, Medical Officer Velthrees arrived with 3 assistants and a full scanning array. Kang looked up from the containers he was organizing. Jars of kimchi sat in neat rows on the counter. Next to them were packages of dried peppers, blocks of fermented soybean paste, and sealed containers of marinated meat. To him, it looked like home. To Velthrees, it looked like a biological hazard. "Sergeant Kang," Velthrees said, her translator making her voice sound sharp. "I must inspect these materials. There are reports of unusual substances." "Sure, go ahead." Kang stepped back, arms crossed. He was trying not to smile. Velthrees extended a scanning device toward the kimchi. The machine beeped, then made a sound like an alarm. She checked the readings twice. Her antennae waved in agitation. "This container has active bacterial cultures. Lactobacillus, over 40 different strains. This is contaminated." "No, it's fermented," Kang corrected. "It's supposed to have bacteria. That's how we make it." "You intentionally grow bacteria in your food?" One of the medical assistants, a young Therine, stepped back quickly. "Of course. Fermentation preserves the vegetables and makes them taste better. It's also good for digestion." Kang picked up a jar and opened it. The smell of garlic and spice filled the air. Two of the medical assistants left immediately. Velthris held her ground, but her compound eyes showed distress. The smell alone contains volatile compounds, sulfur-based, highly reactive. That's the garlic, Kang said helpfully. He picked up another container. Want to see the doenjang? It's been fermenting for 3 years. 3 years? Velthris made a sound her translator couldn't process. You consume decay? We consume flavor. Kang was definitely smiling now. Look, humans have been eating fermented food for thousands of years. It's perfectly safe. More than safe, it's healthy. Captain Na entered the storage area, followed by Private Jin. Jin was carrying more supplies, including a bag of fresh peppers. They were bright red and looked innocent enough. Velthris scanned them automatically. Her device made a different sound this time. A warning tone. Captain Na, these plant materials contain capsaicin levels of 2 million Scoville units. This is classified as a chemical weapon by 14 coalition species. Na raised an eyebrow. Really? We just call them peppers. Jin set the bag down carefully. These are actually pretty mild. My uncle grows ones that hit 3 million. Mild? The remaining Therine assistant stared at Jin. Your species has pain receptors, correct? Yeah, of course. And you willingly trigger them for pleasure? Jin grinned. The burn means it's working. Good food should wake you up. Velthris was making notes on her datapad. Her movements were quick and nervous. I need to report this to General Moricon. These substances pose potential risks. Go ahead, Na said. But the feast is still happening. The commander gave orders. After the medical team left, Kang started laughing. Did you see her face when I opened the kimchi? I thought she was going to pass out, Jin added. He started unpacking the peppers, sorting them by size. Should we tell them about the soju? Let's save that surprise for tonight, Na said. She picked up one of the pepper bags and examined it. How spicy are these really? Spicy enough to make you sweat, Jin admitted. But that's part of the fun. Heat brings people together. Over the next few hours, more supplies arrived. Corporal Tay brought in the meat for grilling. The marbled beef and thick pork belly looked beautiful to human eyes. When a passing Kilari, soldier saw the raw meat sitting out preparing to be cooked. She reported a contamination incident. Lieutenant Hai spent most of the afternoon answering concerned messages from alien officers. Yes, the food was safe. No, humans weren't trying to poison anyone. Yes, the bacterial cultures were intentional. No, she couldn't explain why that was a good thing in under 3 paragraphs. In the late afternoon, Private Jin began his taste tests. This was standard procedure for any cook. He needed to make sure the flavors were balanced, the seasoning was correct, and everything met his standards. Unfortunately, he did this in the main prep area, where anyone could watch. A small group of alien soldiers had gathered near the doorway. They were curious despite their concerns. They watched as Jin opened a jar of gochujang, the red pepper paste that was essential to so many Korean dishes. He dipped a spoon in and tasted it directly. The alien saw his face turn slightly red. They saw sweat form on his forehead. They assumed he was having a medical emergency. One started to move forward to help. Jin smiled and gave a thumbs up. Perfect. Exactly the right amount of heat. The alien soldier froze. You are injured? What? No, I'm fine, it's just spicy. Your face is red, your body is producing excess moisture. These are signs of distress. These are signs of good gochujang, Jin corrected. He took another taste. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. This is going to be amazing tonight. Another alien, a Therine officer, stepped closer. He was braver than the others. May I ask, why do you consume something that causes pain? Jin thought about this while he stirred a pot of bubbling stew. It's not really pain. It's more like excitement. Your mouth wakes up, you know? Everything becomes more intense, more alive. Plus, it makes you feel warm inside. Comfortable. Fascinating, the officer said, though he didn't sound convinced. And all humans enjoy this? Most of us. Some like it mild, some like it extreme. My grandmother used to eat peppers that would make me cry. She said I was too soft. Jin laughed at the memory. The officer made notes on his pad. Your elder consumed more extreme versions of these chemical compounds? She lived to be 94 and never had a sick day in her life, Jin said proudly. Strong woman, strong stomach. This information seemed to disturb the officer more than reassure him. He excused himself politely and left quickly. As evening approached, the cooking began in earnest. Corporal Tay set up the grills in the mess hall itself. This was intentional. Part of the human feast experience was the show, the theater of cooking. But when he lit the flames, 3 different fire alarms went off. Station security arrived within minutes. They found Tay calmly grilling meat over open flames, smoke rising around him. To the security team, who were mostly Kilari, this looked like warfare. Fire was something they associated with danger and combat, not food preparation. Sir, you must extinguish that immediately, the security chief said, his translator making his panic clear. Commander Day arrived before things could escalate. Stand down. This is part of the feast preparation. The fire is controlled and monitored. You are cooking with combustion? The security chief's antennae were flat against his head, a sign of extreme stress in his species. This is highly irregular. This is how humans prepare food, Day explained patiently. We apply heat, sometimes very high heat. It transforms the raw ingredients into something better. Why not use standard energy-based heating elements? Because it doesn't taste the same, Tay called out from his grill. He flipped a piece of meat with practiced skill. The flame adds flavor, see? He cut off a small piece of the finished meat and ate it. Perfect. The security chief watched this display with something like horror. Humans applied fire to dead animal tissue, then consumed it while it was still hot enough to cause burns. And they smiled while doing it. I need to file a report, the chief said weakly. File away, Day said. But the feast continues. By the time everything was ready, the mess hall had been completely transformed. Long tables were set with plates and utensils. Side dishes covered every available surface. Kimchi of 3 different kinds, seasoned vegetables, pickled radish, marinated mushrooms, and a dozen other banchan, waited in small dishes. The main courses were still being prepared, filling the air with smells that made the human soldiers smile and the alien observers nervous. Sergeant Kang did a final check of the beverage station. Bottles of soju sat in neat rows, the clear liquid innocent-looking but potent. He had tried to explain alcohol to one of the Kilari soldiers earlier. The concept of deliberately consuming a substance that altered your mental state for fun was completely foreign to them. Everything ready? Captain Na asked, walking through the hall one last time. Ready as we'll ever be, Kang replied. Think they'll actually eat anything? Some will try, out of politeness if nothing else. And when they taste the kimchi? Na grinned. That's when things get interesting. Outside the mess hall, General Morikan and Ambassador Velthris stood together, preparing to enter. They had both read the medical reports. They knew the food inside contained bacteria, aggressive spices, and alcohol. They knew it would be nothing like the nutrient paste and protein supplements their own species preferred. We don't have to do this, Velthris said quietly. Yes, we do, Morikan replied. If we want to understand humans, we need to experience their culture, even the parts that frighten us. Especially those parts, Velthris agreed. They entered together, their officers following behind. The feast was about to begin. General Morikan had attended hundreds of military celebrations in his long career. He had shared meals with warriors from dozens of species. He thought he knew what to expect from a victory feast. He was wrong. The moment he entered the mess hall, his senses were overwhelmed. The smell alone was complex beyond anything he had experienced. His translator tried to identify the individual scents but gave up after detecting over 60 different compounds in the air. Some were sweet, some were sharp, some burned his nostrils slightly even from a distance. Welcome, General. Ambassador. Commander Day stood at the entrance, looking pleased. Please come in. Sit anywhere you like. Velthris moved forward on her 6 legs, her compound eyes taking in everything. The tables were covered with small dishes. She counted quickly. 42 distinct food items, each in its own container. Her species ate 2 types of nutrient paste, carefully calculated for optimal nutrition. This was chaos. "Commander Day," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "This is a remarkable amount of food. Are you feeding the entire station?" "This is just for our group," Captain Na said cheerfully. "About 60 people. Don't worry, we'll eat it all." The alien officers found seats carefully. The chairs were human-sized, which meant too large for the Quilari and slightly too small for the Thurine. No one complained. They were too busy staring at the food. Lieutenant Hai moved along the table, pointing to different dishes. "These are banchan side dishes. We eat them with the main course. This is kimchi, fermented cabbage with peppers and garlic. This is kakdugi, radish kimchi. This is japchae, glass noodles with vegetables. This is—" "Everything is different," interrupted a Thurine officer. His name was Kevlar, and he was one of General Morikhan's most trusted soldiers. "Your species consumes this many different food types in one meal?" "Usually more," Hai admitted. "We kept it simple tonight." "Simple," Velthris repeated quietly. Her translator made the word sound like a question. Sergeant Kang and Private Jin began bringing out the main dishes. First came a huge pot of kimchi jjigae, the stew bubbling and steaming. The smell of fermented kimchi, pork, and tofu filled the hall. Several alien soldiers leaned back instinctively. "It's still boiling," Kevlar observed. "Are we supposed to wait for it to cool?" "No, we eat it hot," Jin said. He ladled some into a bowl and took a big spoonful. Steam rose from his mouth as he swallowed. Perfect temperature. The aliens watched him eat something that was clearly hot enough to cause tissue damage. He didn't seem bothered at all. In fact, he looked happy. Next came the grilled meat. Corporal Tay carried a large platter of bulgogi, the thin slices of beef glistening with marinade. Behind him, Private Wu brought galbi, the grilled short ribs that had been marinating for 2 days. The meat was charred on the edges, still sizzling slightly. "These are our main proteins," Day explained. He picked up a piece of bulgogi with his chopsticks and ate it with obvious pleasure. Beef marinated in soy sauce, garlic, pear, and sesame oil. Grilled over high heat. High heat, Morrigan repeated. He had been studying humans for months, but there was still so much he didn't understand. "You transform the tissue structure through combustion?" "We call it cooking," Na said. "It makes the food safer and more delicious." "But your medical officer confirmed that humans can consume raw meat," Velthris said. "Why add this dangerous step?" "Because it tastes better," Tay answered from his grill station. "Here, try this." He brought over a small piece of perfectly grilled galbi on a plate. He set it in front of Kevlar. "Just a little piece. See what you think?" Kevlar looked at the meat. His reptilian features made it hard for humans to read his expression, but his hesitation was clear. Finally, curiosity won. He picked up the meat with the provided utensils and took a tiny bite. The flavor hit him immediately. Salt, sweet garlic smoke. His tongue detected layers of taste he hadn't known existed. His species' food was bland by design, calculated only for nutrition. This was something entirely different. He paused, searching for words. "Complex. Good complex or bad complex?" Tay asked hopefully. "I am not certain yet." Kevlar took another small bite. "But I am willing to continue testing." The human soldiers laughed. Even some of the other aliens seemed encouraged by Kevlar's bravery. A few reached for small portions of the safer-looking items. Ensign Bo brought over bowls of rice, the simple white grains steaming gently. "Now," Hai said, "I'll show you how we eat Korean food." "You take some rice," she demonstrated, filling her spoon. "Add some meat, some vegetables, maybe some kimchi, all together." She ate the combination with obvious satisfaction. The concept seemed strange to the aliens. Their species ate one thing at a time, processed completely before moving to the next item. Humans mixed everything together, creating new flavors with each bite. Ambassador Velthris decided to try. She carefully took a very small amount of rice and an even smaller piece of vegetable. She avoided the kimchi entirely. The garlic smell alone was too intense for her. She ate slowly, analyzing each sensation. "It is not unpleasant," she announced. This was high praise from Aquilari. Several other aliens relaxed slightly and began to experiment. Then Sergeant Kang brought out the soju. The clear bottles caught the light as he set them on the table. He poured small glasses for the humans first, then offered bottles to the aliens. "What is this liquid?" Morrigan asked. "Soju, it's a traditional Korean drink. Made from rice or sweet potato. We drink it to celebrate." Kang poured himself a glass and drank it in one shot. The other human soldiers followed suit, laughing and talking. Velthris extended her scanner toward the soju bottle. The device beeped softly. "This contains 20% ethanol. You consume intoxicants? Alcohol is part of human culture," Day explained. "In moderation, it helps people relax and bond. It's traditional for celebrations. Your species deliberately impairs its cognitive function for social purposes." Morrigan was genuinely puzzled. "When you say it like that, it sounds bad," Na admitted. "But yes, basically. A little bit of soju never hurt anyone. Well, except for the next morning sometimes." "The next morning?" Velthris tilted her head. "Hangovers. We'll explain later." None of the aliens tried the soju. The concept was too foreign, too dangerous. They watched as the humans drank and laughed, their faces growing slightly flushed, their voices getting louder and happier. It was like observing a controlled experiment in recreational chemistry. More food kept coming. Bo brought out Peijon, savory pancakes filled with vegetables and seafood. The pancakes were crispy on the edges, soft in the middle. The aliens watched as humans dipped them in a sauce that smelled strongly of vinegar and soy. "You have sauces?" Kevlar asked. "Secondary liquid flavor enhancers." "Dozens of them," Bo confirmed. "Each dish has its own proper sauce. It's part of the experience." Commander Thexali arrived late to the feast. As a Voidborn, his species didn't have a physical form in the traditional sense. He appeared as a shimmer of energy in a containment field. He didn't eat, but he could analyze molecular structures. He floated near the table, his sensors active. After a moment, he spoke through his translator, his voice sounding distant and strange. "This is biochemical chaos. I detect over 200 distinct organic compounds in this meal. The combinations should be unstable. But they're delicious," Jin said, eating another piece of kimchi with his rice. "That's what matters. Delicious?" Thexali processed this concept. His species didn't understand taste. They absorbed pure energy. "You prioritize sensory pleasure over nutritional efficiency?" "Every time," Wu confirmed. He was building himself a large wrap using lettuce as the base. He added rice, meat, kimchi sauce, and garlic, then folded it carefully. The entire construction went into his mouth in one bite. His cheeks bulged as he chewed happily. The aliens stared. This display of eating, so casual and enthusiastic, was completely foreign to them. Most species in the galaxy approached food as a necessary maintenance task. They consumed their nutrients quickly and efficiently, then moved on with their day. Humans turned it into an event, a celebration, a social activity that could last hours. "In my species," Velthris said quietly, "we have a saying, time spent eating is time wasted. We can absorb our daily nutrition in 4 minutes." "In my culture," Hai replied gently, "we believe that time spent sharing food is never wasted. It's how we connect with each other, how we show love and respect. Some of my best memories are of sitting with my family, eating together, talking about our lives." "Eating is emotional for humans?" Morrigan asked. This was a new concept for him. "Very much so," Day confirmed. He lifted his glass of soju. "Food is memory. Every dish tells a story. This bulgogi? It reminds me of my mother's cooking. The kimchi? My grandmother made it every fall. We would help her, all the children together. It was hard work, but we laughed the whole time." The alien officers looked at each other. They were beginning to understand something important. Humans didn't just survive their dangerous planet, they built their entire culture around it. They took the deadly biodiversity of Earth and turned it into art. They took the struggle of survival and made it a celebration. "I think," Velthris said slowly, "I am beginning to understand why humans are so effective in combat. You do not simply fight to survive. You fight to protect this." She gestured at the feast around them. The feast had been going for 2 hours when Private Wu stood up from his seat. He was a quiet man, usually focused on his duties as a communications specialist. But tonight, with good food and a few glasses of soju warming his stomach, he felt talkative. "Can I tell you something?" Wu said to the alien officers sitting nearby. His face was slightly flushed from the alcohol. "About why this matters to us?" Kevlar, the Therine officer who had been brave enough to try the bulgogi, nodded. He had been eating slowly but steadily throughout the night. His plate now held small portions of 5 different dishes. Please, I wish to understand. Wu gestured at the table at all the food spread before them. In human culture, when you share a meal with someone, it means something. It means you're not enemies. It means you trust each other. Some of the biggest decisions in human history were made over dinner. Decisions? Velthris leaned forward. Her earlier fear of the food had faded. She was now taking careful notes on everything she observed. Political decisions? All kinds of decisions. Business deals. Peace treaties. Marriage proposals. We even have a saying, breaking bread together. It means forming a bond. Lieutenant Hai joined the conversation. She had been moving around the room, making sure all the guests were comfortable. In Korea, where my family is from, food is how we show love. When my mother worried about me, she would cook. When my grandmother wanted to celebrate, she would cook. When someone was sick, we would make special soup. Food was never just food, it was communication. One of the younger Kilari soldiers who had been listening quietly spoke up. Her name was Silvex and she was an engineer. But this seems inefficient. Why not simply state your emotions directly? Because sometimes words aren't enough, Sergeant Kang said. He was refilling the soju glasses, moving along the table with practiced ease. Look at tonight. We could have told you that humans are your allies. We could have written reports about cultural compatibility. But this? He gestured around the room. This shows you who we are. You're eating our food, sharing our traditions. It means more than any report could. I think I understand, Commander Thexali said, his energy form pulsing thoughtfully. For my species, we share energy directly. It is intimate, reserved for close companions. Your food serves a similar function. It is a transfer of cultural energy, if you will. Exactly. Wu looked pleased. You get it. General Morikon had been eating slowly throughout the evening. He was careful, methodical, taking small amounts and analyzing each flavor. Now he set down his utensils and addressed the room. Commander Day, I must confess something. When I first met humans, I thought you were reckless. You take risks that other species would never accept. You push your bodies beyond what seems safe. Tonight I begin to see why. Day raised an eyebrow. Oh? You come from a world that tried to kill you every day. Dangerous weather, deadly animals, aggressive microorganisms. You could have become fearful, defensive. Instead, you became curious. You learned to take the dangerous things and make them part of your life. This food proves it. Morikon pointed at the kimchi. You take bacteria that could harm you and turn it into something beneficial. You take plants that cause pain. He nodded at the peppers. And eat them for pleasure. You even consume substances that alter your consciousness, and you do it socially with trust. We call it adaptation, Captain Na said quietly. Earth didn't give us a choice. We adapted or died. But we didn't just adapt. We found joy in it. That is the difference, Velthris said suddenly. Her antennae were upright, a sign of excitement in her species. Most species run from danger. Humans run toward it, then invite it to dinner. The humans laughed at that. It was an accurate description, even if it sounded ridiculous. Ensign Bo emerged from the kitchen area carrying a large tray. Speaking of running toward danger, she announced cheerfully. Who wants to try the really spicy kimchi? I've got some that Private Jin's grandmother made. Fair warning, it's intense. Several alien officers leaned away from the table. The regular kimchi had been challenging enough. But Kevlar surprised everyone by raising his hand. I will try it. In the spirit of cultural exchange. Bo brought over a small dish. The kimchi inside was bright red, glistening with pepper oil. The smell alone made several aliens' eyes water. Kevlar took a piece much smaller than before and ate it. His reaction was immediate. His mouth opened, his tongue extended, and he made a sound that his translator rendered as distressed whistling. He reached for water, drinking it quickly. The humans watched with sympathy. They had all been through this experience at some point. Are you okay? Hai asked, concerned. Kevlar finished his water and took a moment to compose himself. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. His species didn't smile often, so the expression looked strange on his reptilian features. That was remarkable. Painful but remarkable. I felt my entire body respond. My temperature rose, my senses sharpened. Is this normal? Totally normal, Jin confirmed. That's the endorphin response. Your body thinks it's being attacked, so it releases chemicals to help you cope. Those chemicals make you feel good. It's why some humans get addicted to spicy food. You become addicted to pain? Sylvex sounded horrified. To the feeling after the pain. Wu corrected. There's a difference. The conversation continued, flowing naturally now. The aliens asked questions and the humans answered. They learned about each other's cultures, finding unexpected connections. The Therine had a ritual involving shared sunlight that served a similar bonding function to human meals. The Quilari had a tradition of building things together, which created community the way cooking did for humans. Corporal Tay brought out more grilled meat, this time samgyeopsal, thick slices of pork belly that sizzled on the hot plate. He showed the alien officers how to wrap the meat in lettuce leaves with garlic, pepper, and sauce. It's called SAM, he explained. You build your own bite. Everyone makes it differently. Individual customization? Morrikan looked intrigued. Each person creates their own flavor combination? Exactly. That's part of the fun. Here, try it. Tay assembled a wrap and handed it to the general. Trust me. Morrikan looked at the lettuce wrap. It was messy, unscientific, and completely unpredictable. It was also, he was beginning to realize, very human. He ate it in one bite, the way Tay demonstrated. The combination of flavors was intense and satisfying in a way he hadn't expected. This is good, he admitted. Very good. The human soldiers cheered. Getting the strict Therine general to admit he enjoyed human food felt like a victory. As the night continued, the atmosphere in the mess hall changed. The initial tension faded. Aliens who had been suspicious now looked curious. Some were even enjoying themselves. Laughter crossed species barriers. The universal translator worked overtime, but somehow the meaning always came through. Private Wu pulled out a small instrument from his bag. It was a gayagum, a traditional Korean string instrument. Do you mind? He asked Commander Day. Go ahead. Wu began to play. The music was soft and melodic, filling the spaces between conversations. The aliens fell quiet listening. Music was something most species understood, though each had different traditions. This human music was complex, with emotions woven into every note. You combine food with music? Felthris asked Haya softly. We combine food with everything, Hai replied. Art, music, conversation, celebration, mourning. Food is central to almost every human activity. It's probably strange to you? Not strange. Different, but I think I understand now. Felthris looked around the room. Human and alien soldiers sat together, sharing food and stories. The war was over, but this was what came after war. This was peace built one meal at a time. Sergeant Kang stood up, swaying slightly from the soju. He raised his glass high. I want to make a toast. To our alien friends who were brave enough to try our food, to victory in battle and friendship in peace, and to kimchi, which brings everyone together whether they want to or not. Everyone laughed. Even the aliens who didn't understand the humor could feel the warmth in the moment. Glasses were raised. Some held soju, some held water, some held nothing but goodwill. It didn't matter. The gesture was the same. To friendship, Day echoed. To friendship, the room responded, voices mixing together in a dozen different languages, all meaning the same thing. Outside the mess hall, other alien soldiers had gathered. They watched through the windows, curious about what was happening inside. They saw their officers laughing with humans. They saw food being shared, stories being told, connections being made. Some of them felt envious. Others felt curious. All of them felt something shift in their understanding of the strange species from Earth. Maybe humans weren't so different after all. They just showed their similarities in unexpected ways. Through food, through fire, through fermented vegetables and way too much garlic. It was chaos, but it was beautiful chaos. And somehow it worked. In the morning, there would be reports to file and data to analyze. But tonight was for something more important than data. Tonight was for understanding. And understanding, the aliens were learning, often came with a full stomach and an open mind. The feast had been going for 4 hours when Ensign Bo announced that dessert was ready. Most of the alien officers looked confused. They had been eating for hours already. Surely the meal was complete. Dessert? Felthris asked carefully. Is this a final nutritional supplement? Bo laughed, her eyes bright with excitement. No, it's the best part. Sweet foods that we eat after the main meal. Even if you're full, you always have room for dessert. That doesn't make biological sense, Sylvex said. The young Quilari engineer had been taking detailed notes all evening. Once caloric needs are met, hunger signals should stop. Should, yes. Captain Na agreed. But humans have what we call a dessert stomach. It's a separate appetite just for sweet things. A second appetite? Commander Thexali's energy form pulsed with interest. For non-essential nutrients? This is remarkable adaptation. You can override your own satiation programming. When the food is good enough, absolutely, Bo confirmed. She began setting out dishes on the table. First came tiok, rice cakes in various colors and flavors. Then bingsu, a mountain of shaved ice topped with sweet red beans, fruit, and condensed milk. Finally, yakwa, honey cookies that glistened with a sweet glaze. The aliens stared at the new array of food. After everything they had already seen tonight, they thought they couldn't be surprised anymore. They were wrong. These items contain high levels of sucrose, Velthris observed, scanning the desserts. Refined sugars. Your species consumes these intentionally. Sugar makes us happy, Bo said simply. She handed out small plates. Here, try the yakwa. They're cookies made with honey, sesame oil, and ginger. They've been a traditional Korean treat for centuries. Kevlar, who had become the bravest of the alien officers, took a cookie. He bit into it carefully. The sweetness hit his tongue immediately, followed by the subtle warmth of ginger. His eyes widened. This is pleasant. Very pleasant. I did not expect to enjoy it so much. That's the sugar talking, Private Jin said with a grin. Gets everyone eventually. Even General Morikon tried a small piece of tiok. The chewy rice cake was sweet but not overwhelming. He found himself taking another piece without thinking about it. Captain Na noticed and smiled. Careful, General. They're addictive. I can see why, Morikon admitted. He had spent the entire evening trying to maintain professional distance, analyzing everything objectively. But the food kept breaking through his defenses. It was designed to be enjoyed, and resisting enjoyment was harder than he had expected. As the desserts were passed around, Lieutenant Hai noticed something interesting. The alien officers were sitting differently now. At the start of the feast, they had maintained careful distances grouped by species. Now they were mixed together, humans and aliens side by side, sharing dishes and talking freely. The food had done what diplomacy sometimes couldn't. It had broken down barriers. Corporal Lee entered the room carrying a Gaia Guillaume, a different one from what Wu had played earlier. This one was older, more ornate. Commander Day, would it be appropriate to play now? Please do, Day said. He was leaning back in his chair, relaxed and content. The feast had gone better than he had hoped. Lee began to play a traditional song, something slow and beautiful. The melody filled the room, weaving between conversations. The aliens listened, many for the first time really paying attention to human music. It was complex like their food, with layers and emotions that weren't immediately obvious. In Korean culture, Hai explained to the aliens sitting near her, music and food often go together. Celebrations include both. They feed different hungers. Hunger for meaning? Velthris asked. She had been quiet for a while, processing everything she had experienced. Something like that, Hai agreed. Humans need more than just physical sustenance. We need beauty, connection, purpose. Food is one way we satisfy those needs. Music is another. A young Therine officer named Bornak spoke up. He had been mostly silent all evening, watching and learning. I think I understand now why humans are so effective in long deployments. Other species, we complete our missions and then we rest. We recover. But you don't just recover. You celebrate, you connect, you find joy, even in difficult circumstances. This makes you stronger. Maybe, Wu said thoughtfully. Or maybe we're just good at distracting ourselves from how hard things are. Either way it works. Sergeant Kang started packing food into containers. Several alien officers watched with curiosity. What are you doing? Sylvex asked. Making leftovers, Kang explained. We always make too much food. The extras get saved for later. You take them home, eat them tomorrow or the next day. Sometimes leftover kimchi jjigae tastes even better the second time. You eat the same food multiple times? Morikon looked puzzled. Why not prepare fresh nutrients for each meal? Because leftovers are convenient. And honestly, some dishes need time for the flavors to develop. Cold pizza for breakfast is a human tradition. Kang grinned at the confused looks this generated. Pizza is a different food. We'll have to introduce you to Italian cuisine next. There are more types? Velthris's antennae drooped slightly. How many food cultures do humans have? Thousands, Captain Na said. Every region, every country. Sometimes every family has their own traditions. What we showed you tonight is just Korean food. There's also Chinese, Japanese, Indian, Mexican, Italian, French, Ethiopian, Thai. She counted on her fingers. I could keep going. The aliens exchanged looks of disbelief. They had thought tonight's feast was comprehensive. Now they learned it was just one small sample of human food culture. The diversity was overwhelming. How do you keep track of it all? Bornak asked. We don't, Wu admitted. Most humans only know a few cuisines well. We spend our whole lives learning about food, trying new things, discovering new favorites. It's part of the fun. As the evening wound down, Commander Day stood to address the group. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. General Morikhan, Ambassador Velthris, all of our coalition friends. You were brave to try our food. I know it was strange for you. It was more than strange, Morikhan said, standing as well. His scales caught the light as he moved. It was educational. Tonight I learned that humans don't just survive. You transform survival into celebration. You take the deadly aspects of your world and turn them into joy. This is a valuable lesson for all of us. Velthris stood on her 6 legs, addressing both groups. I came tonight expecting to fulfill a diplomatic obligation. Instead, I experienced something profound. I think we Kalari have been approaching life too efficiently. We optimize everything. Remove all excess, focus only on function. But tonight I saw what we lose by doing that. We lose connection. We lose joy. Perhaps there is wisdom in the human way. The room fell quiet. For a coalition species to admit they had something to learn from humans was significant. Earth was still a newcomer, still proving itself. This acknowledgement meant more than any battle victory could. Captain Na cleared her throat. Well, this is getting too serious. Who wants more soju? The tension broke with laughter. Several human soldiers raised their hands. Even a few brave alien officers indicated they might try a small taste this time. The celebration continued, mellower now but still warm with friendship. Over the next hour, the feast slowly ended. Alien officers began to leave, many carrying containers of leftover food that Kang had insisted they take. They left looking thoughtful. Their understanding of humans fundamentally changed. The next morning, the station's medical bay was busier than usual. Alien soldiers came in requesting scans, worried about the food they had eaten. The medical staff assured them they were fine. A few even admitted they wanted to try more human food, despite the risks. General Morikhan filed his official report that morning. He sat in his office, trying to put the previous night's experience into words. Finally, he wrote, Human Combat Effectiveness Analysis. The key to human resilience is cultural, not physical. Their species has developed complex social bonding through shared consumption rituals. Recommend immediate establishment of cultural exchange programs. Understanding human food culture may be essential to understanding human military effectiveness. Request permission to invite human cooks to Therine military installations for training purposes. Ambassador Velthris sent a similar message to her homeworld. She included detailed scans of the food, notes on human social behavior, and a personal recommendation that all Quillari diplomats assigned to work with humans should experience a feast firsthand. By mid-morning, word had spread through the alien sections of the station. Soldiers who hadn't attended the feast heard stories from those who did. The descriptions seemed unbelievable. Food that caused pain but brought pleasure, bacteria that humans ate on purpose, a whole meal dedicated to sweets. 5 different alien species sent official requests to Commander Day. They wanted to experience Earth-style feasts for their own troops. Day brought these requests to his senior staff, laughing. We're going to need more kimchi, and more cooks, Kang added. Private Jin can't handle this alone. I know some people stationed on other ships, Jin said. My cousin is on the Endeavor. She makes amazing mandu, and there's a guy on the Discovery who's famous for his teokbokki. Get them transferred here, Day ordered. Looks like we're starting a cultural revolution, one meal at a time.